Perfect. Well, hello, I'm Rachel Tolleson. I'm here today with Mama's Geeky talking to Casper about Buddy, which is quite the ride. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Rachel. It's great to be here. I'm in New York, and we just had a screening at the Lincoln Center, which was a blast.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sad that I've missed out on seeing this with an audience because I was at South by, but for whatever reason we weren't able to go to it. And I was like, I watched this movie finally last night, and I was like, man, I can only imagine how that audience at Lincoln Square was. But kind of like I love the kind of like sort of like analog horror dealing in the beginning. It's like what if Barney went bad? It kind of made me think about the web series Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, in the sense, kind of like walk me through like the inception of this project. How did this idea come to be?
Uh, JD Lifshitz, one of the producers of at Boulder Light, and they did Barbarian Weapons, Friendship, Companion. He was interested in doing a Barney horror movie, and I was a little more nervous about it because I
Yeah.
felt like that had been done a lot, with Five Nights at Freddy's and the Winnie the Pooh and a bunch. But then I started thinking about it, and I've watched Barney a million times with my kids and other shows of that era, and I started thinking about how the kids are so well behaved on that show, and that seemed a little creepy. Like, why are they so well behaved? Like, why are
Mhm.
And that became a sort of an entry point because a lot of times when something seems very perfect, there's a lot of sinister things under the surface.
Yeah, it really does. And that's one of the things I've always thought too. It's like, you watch these shows growing up and these kids are so nice. Everything is so nice. And you're like, there's gotta be a reason. And I love that Buddy is a unicorn. Like, I think that was one thing that I loved 'cause you don't really kind of see that. So, in creating this character and kind of like figuring out what you wanted the balance of the horror and the comedy to be, what kind of like was the process working with everybody on that and getting that to the screen.
Oh, yeah. In terms of design, I worked with Devin Ludlow, who is the head puppeteer, and I wanted I wanted to not hint at it at all. Like early on, they did very small pupils, so he looked crazy. When there's
Yeah.
small pupils and there's white all around,
Yeah.
they look crazy, and I'm like, no, it can't be that. I don't. It has to be. It has to be charming and
Hmm.
lovable. So I'm like, I want big pupils that are just nice and comforting. And that was a consideration for a while. People were worried that the sinister part wouldn't come through, and there was talk of doing animatronic eyebrows, kind of like they did in Five Nights at Freddy. But I
Yeah.
was pretty fairly confident that it would come through in the acting and the audience imagination, putting the emotion on the face through the voice and the
Mhm.
acting, and I think that worked really well. I'm glad we kept it that way.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you. I don't think it would have been like asking too much. Like it is kind of like going through the acting, the voice. It is scarier when you're encountering a character that is just, it's kind of like there's no emotion. They're
Yes.
meant to look really happy, but there's a sinister tone coming from it. There's like like the things it's saying are like really unnerving, and I think that hits something that nothing else could have touched.
Yeah, and thinking about it now, Rachel, so many horror icons are masks where you
Yep.
don't know what they're feeling or thinking, and that's scary. And also
Yeah.
smile, because of that smile, it's just scary. Like, yeah, you
Hmm.
don't know what's going on. Why are they doing that? Yeah. So
There's so it's something about not really emoting. that
Yes.
brings it really to life. And especially I love that too, like the gore wasn't crazy. It kind of fit in with the world. Was that intentional? You wanted to make sure that it still looked like almost cartoonish in a way?
Yes, yes. Uh, and just in keeping with that color palette, which is a
Yeah.
little, pushed. Yes.
And then also the fact that, this kind of, it almost had when you go further into the movie and you kind of like go into the real world, it almost has a lost media feel to it, this show. Building out the back of this where you kind of had to go in between the two worlds. What was the writing process and the directing process for that like?
Um, Writing, we experimented with intercutting it, but it just didn't feel right to hop back and forth. It felt better to keep the audience in one world and almost claustrophobic and wondering, are we going to be in this world the whole movie, and then zigging and zagging. And then in the design process, it was just super fun, because really in my mind there's probably five worlds uh in it, because there, yeah, without being too spoilery, there's the buddy world, the real world, and
Mhm.
then they go to another world, and then
Mhm.
they go down to yet another world. So yeah, it was just fun to maybe Rachel, I'm always worried if I'm going to get to make another movie, so I try to put everything I can into the movie I'm working on.
That's a good philosophy, though. It's true. You never know what's going to happen. So it's like, why not make everything super crazy and just
Yeah.
kind of like throw it all and see what happens. But it works for this film specifically because the world is so crazy in it. You have all of everything that's going on, and you don't really kind of know what's going to happen next, which is fantastic.
And there's a quote from I don't know, is it Matt Weiner or Matt Weiner from Mad Men? He said
Mhm.
he never holds back for future seasons. He puts everything he can into the season he's working on, every idea he wants to do. He's like, burn through all your ideas in the, because you don't know if you're getting another season. So he's just like, go for it. So that was kind of inspiring too.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, is that kind of like, do you want people to feel that you kind of like put everything that you possibly could into it when they see this movie?
Yes, yes. Because if I get to do a sequel, I have more ideas, and more ideas are
Ooh.
coming. So yeah.
Ooh, I would love a sequel. Give us more. Give us more in this creepy world. I want to know. That's one thing that really fascinated me is I was curious, just we're shown this TV show, but we don't know the backstory of this TV show. We just know that it's kind of like that world's like Barney, Teletubbies, whatever. So was that like an intentional thing? You're like, we're gonna put you here. We're not gonna give you anything. You're just kind of know about this show.
Yeah, that's something I like in movies.
Hmm.
But I think it's important to have my own internal rules and logic and history, but to not necessarily give it all to the audience. Because it's fun to, as an audience member, in my opinion, to connect the dots. I mean, some of my
Hmm.
movies are like Under the Skin, or I'm blanking on all the other, but a movie like that, or any pretty much anything by David Lynch. Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of questions, and it's fun to talk about it with your friends. And
Hmm.
and sometimes people will give me fan theories um, that are better than what I had in mind. I'm like, are they better articulate what I had in mind? Like for Too
Yeah.
Many Cooks, somebody had a
Hmm.
theory, and I'm like, oh my God, that is what it is. I didn't really fully understand it, but you nailed it.
I love that. That's a sign of good writing. You're like, yeah, you know what? You connected the dots better than my mind did. We got there in the end.
Yes.
Well, it was really lovely to get to chat about this film. Congratulations. I do hope for sequels, so we're gonna cross our fingers. Everybody go see Buddy so we can get a sequel because I want to see more of this crazy unicorns world. But thank you so much for chatting with me today. It was really lovely.
Thank you so much, Rachel. It was a blast.
Of course.